Pray to the baby Jesus. This works. Pray to the baby Jesus. To God Almighty. Though it does. Pray to God Almighty. That didn't work, though. That did. All right, so now we have that. And I have this.
I like turn my camera off because Brian's able to do it.
There you go. Good. Everything is up now. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the beginning of the program. You see, I'm getting better at this. And not that I could get much worse, but what the hell? Welcome to the program, and it's nice to see Pat Seagramson. Hey, happy Friday to you too, Pat. He was early on the curve. He was just champing at the bit, man, to get in. Boy, guy's got no life. I'm sorry, Pat. Hi, Amsterdam. The Barnyard Pack waves back at you. How is everybody doing today? I hope you're doing well. I have posted all of the things that need to be posted, but I do have a bunch of news that I can spread today, and hopefully it will be good news for you. And we'll start the program out with that. As we finally are getting close to the preseason with August the 8th as the first of the preseason games. There will be Moohead Radio halftime shows and post-game shows for all. Well, I want to say for the first three preseason games. The fourth one, I'm not real excited about because, the battle for special teams doesn't warrant its own broadcast. But there are some things that will be of importance. And I want people who are subscribers to this program to take note that I am posting links on Twitter that will get you directly into this studio to be a panelist. At the same time, if you subscribe to this channel and you just click on the little bell, all right? Jake is saying, let me in, please. We will let Jake in. Here comes Mr. Bill's dog. Okay, so he is in now. If you click on the little bell icon in YouTube, right on the Moohead Radio channel to subscribe, and then you'll get alerts. Whenever I go live, man, it will come up on your screen, and you won't have to worry about knowing whether I'm live or not for the halftime show. Halftime shows happen very quickly because there's only 15 minutes between halftime, between the second and third, quarters, halftime and the third quarter of the game. That's the first thing. And second of all, if you want to participate in the program, the link will never change. I am working on a static link now. So I want you to take notice, Jake, for example. And Jake, I'm going to have to unmute you, you poor mute bastard. Okay, there you are. The link that you just clicked on, save the link. Save that link, the one that's in the chat room. That will forever be Monday and Friday's link directly into the studio. As I get better at using this particular cloud application, I'm going to make it simpler for people. Now, so there will be permanent links also for all preseason and regular season halftime and post-game shows. And they will always be on that one link. So to everybody out there in Moo Moo Land, first, subscribe to the channel. This is going to be the biggest season in Cleveland Browns recent history, and there's going to be a lot of people who want to become Browns fans. It's kind of like the LeBron effect without LeBron, okay? So with that said, we have 1,500 viewers. It could easily go to 3,000, like bingo, like that, because of the national interest in this team. But in order to do this the best way, subscribe to the channel, please. Click on the bell icon. And that way, I don't have to be posting 30 different things at the last minute. Because believe me, when it comes to football season, I don't have the time because I'm working on 15-minute halftimes, then I'm working on post-game shows. The other thing is the link to this program. If you want to become a regular panelist on this program.
And who doesn't, for God's sake? I mean,
all you have to do is check my Twitter feed. I'm going to be tweeting the direct link to this studio before every show. You can't miss. If you fuck this up, you fuck up a wet dream. I can't help you. And look at Rocks, the piranha, the black piranha of death.
Oh my God. I
know, what a horrible thing that was. Don't do that anymore. Almighty. Rox and I were chatting before the program. What the hell? Anything called Oral B is too phallic for me. I'm sorry. It's like, no, that's so wrong. I don't want something cylindrical going into my mouth, you know? Yeah. Jake, that's what they said. The gay guy said to the other gay guy who had a nice smile. Didn't you hear about that?
What?
Those are the nicest teeth I've ever come across. No, forget it. It probably wasn't. It wasn't at all worth it. But under the circumstances. So Brian, we're letting him in, and Rick May, we're letting him in, and I don't know. I guess we'll let anybody in, for God's sakes. Welcome to the program. Hi, Brian, and I'm going to unmute you. Oh, he unmuted himself because he's just that kind of guy, and so did Rick. Good. So we got 6 people here. So again, if you want to be part of this program, it is really going to be simple. Follow my Twitter feed. You can get in. If you're a Browns fan and you just want to talk, not be doing this at halftime. There isn't enough time, but the post-game shows are going to be mayhem. Let me tell you, because it's going to be wide open. You want to jump in, and if you want to say something, you get it off your chest. I have the ability to mute you. I have the ability to bring you into the studio, and I have the ability to throw your sorry Pittsburgh Steeler ass out if you fuck with me. So just remember, I am COD Almighty. This way, I'm not sacrilegious.
It's fun fucking with you sometimes.
Message received.
Wait. Shouldn't you be the bull shark of Moohead Radio?
Oh, I suppose, but I like COD Almighty.
You are actually in Florida, so
I was at the Whole Foods, and I went to the fish counter in the Whole Foods store, and they had cod on sale, and I said, "Holy mother of cod!" And the guy started looking at me and laughing, and I said, "COD Almighty, just stop. So everything was cod,
Wouldn't you be like a manatee in Florida?
Yeah, manatee. That's the county. That's the name of the county.
Speaking of gay men.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get on to sports, shall we?
You know what? I came here today especially because I wanted to hear Brian's take on Megan Rapinoe. So I'm sure he must have an opinion.
Oh God.
Do you really want to know?
Yeah, go
or
ahead.
Do you just want to
go for it?
Well, here's my take. Let's screw over all of the national teams for the Olympics and whatever else. Let's just lower all of the men's salaries to whatever the women are paying. Then we'll save a bunch of fucking money.
All right, we've made America great again. Congratulations. This is not a political show. And you know something? I've given up. You know why I've given up? Because you either like Trump or you don't. If you like him, you like everything he does, and you lick his ball sack.
No.
Yes, and if you hate him, like I do, then his wife is a prostitute. So there's no in between. There's no in between with this at all. I mean,
I guess that's better than being a murderer.
That's
and
right.
A crime boss.
You see? And the same way with the Clintons. It's all polarizing. And I'll tell you why it's polarizing, and I'll get on to sports. It's because the side that can't win is polarized. So when the Clintons were in there for 8 years and they couldn't get the Clintons out of office, the Republicans became desperate and started accusing them of being pedophiles. And now that it appears for all the world that 2020 is going to come and go and Trump will still be the president, you have left-wingers who are going to accuse Trump of everything in the world. It's the same dynamic, just different sides of the fence. I want to talk about this blockbuster desperation trade, and I want to go to my noble panel here. You know, and Steven,
it's NBA, I don't give a shit.
No, but I mean, this is
look at the cat.
Oh my God! Hey,
oh, look at the cat.
Hey there, how you doing?
Oh,
what a nice cat. Let me see that pussy again, Rox.
yes, nicely.
Yeah.
Very pretty pussy.
Hey, yeah, can I pick your pussy?
Candy.
Can I pick your pussy?
Can't grab it.
Put the cat down. Put the cat down, and I'll try. Enough of that. So first, we'll start with Jake. This trade, this Chris Paul for, you know, I mean, if Steven were here, I would be like, you know, going ballistic. What do you make of this trade, Jake?
Well, it's the NBA, right? And whatever happens, happens. All I know is Chris Paul turned down like $50 million to end up in OKC with nobody there. Pretty much.
All right. I mean, I certainly can understand that.
So, I mean, you request a trade to get what you want. It works. It's the NBA. I accept it.
Well, it's not like we can't accept it. Yeah. You have to accept it. You have no choice. But I mean,
they're not much better. I don't think they're any better. So it's what it is.
Is really any better? I mean, Oklahoma City became a seller. Like we talked about, Sam Presti trying to redo the whole draft scenario again. And to me, the biggest losers are Houston. And I think it's why Steven's not here.
Steven is here.
There's a new chat.
Little note says I'm here. So.
Oh,
he needs to be promoted to panelist.
Oh my God. He's going to have to defend. He's going to have to fight for his right to party. Yeah. All right. He's been accepted.
I guess he's done repainting his room white.
All right. So I'm going to change to speaker view if I can. And speaker view doesn't seem to be working. Unless who do you see on your screen right now, guys?
Everybody but Brock and Brian. Yeah.
That's interesting. So when I speak, do I go full screen when I'm speaking?
No,
I don't.
No, but I see it's still partitioned.
You get the green outline around your picture.
Wow. I don't
now
know.
It's doing it.
Oh, it is switching over to me now?
Like I look on the second screen.
All right, good.
Yeah, on YouTube, it is.
All right, good. That's all that's supposed to be happening. That's as long as we're on speaker mode. All right, Steven, you're full screen right now on my screen. Houston Rockets. You tell me. You likey, you know likey, you have an erection, you have a semi-erection. I don't know.
Well, I'm 50-50. Obviously, the bad news has to go first. You got two top 5 guys in the league, but both of them are ball hogs. So I'm wondering if James Harden is going to be okay with coming off the ball as opposed to bringing the ball at the point guard position, because that's where he usually takes most of his shots, is when he's bringing the ball up the court. So I'm wondering how he's going to be able to collide with the ego of Westbrook versus his own ego, because Westbrook likes to drive into the paint. D'Antoni likes to shoot the 3-point shot and spread the ball out, distribute the ball out to the 3-point territory. Westbrook's not a 3-point shooter. He's not a catch shooter. So I'm wondering if they're going to change the pace and force Westbrook to drive to the basket, which then comes to the point, is James Harden going to be comfortable with coming off the ball? Is he going to be comfortable with that?
The thing that makes me wonder about all of this is, you're digging yourself a hole and you keep digging deeper and deeper and deeper. And if you're the Houston Rockets, you know, you're clinging to this feeble hope while other teams of the West are getting stronger than you. And you're down to a point right now where you're saying, well, we're going to put 2 guys together who could not coexist in the past. 2 guys who have the highest usage rates in the NBA.
Fair enough.
They must have the ball in their hands. Neither of them plays a lick of defense. And they're at the helm of the coach is a guy who will run up and down the floor as often as possible and hoist shots up. And has no big history of ever having to deal with two egos as big as these two men's, and he has to, it reminds me of the biblical story of Solomon, cutting the child in half. How do you cut this in half?
With a chainsaw?
Right. Quickly.
Yeah, I mean, how do you get these two players? I mean, what's going to happen. Everyone's going to be, all kissy face at first, but if the thing doesn't get off to a very good start, then each of those two guys is going to take it upon himself to shoot more, and the other three guys in the court will become thoroughly incidental. I mean, you might as well not even be on the bench. You might as well not even be on the fucking roster. And it's all motivated by Morey, the general manager's will to still try to crawl out of this horrible grave that he dug for himself. They're obviously unwilling to rebuild that team for whatever reason. And this is what they've decided.
Eric Gordon was against the deal. He said that we could have ran it back and had an extra shot considering Klay Thompson is out. Like, the wall is Golden State, and they've lost Durant, they've lost Cousins, they've lost Thompson for a year. So this is our chance to get over that hump. And we've beaten LeBron James before. I know he doesn't have the players he has now, but we beat him last year when he was with the Lakers. So we have that confidence that we can beat them. So now it's just, can we beat Golden State? Now Golden State is at the bottom. We ship Chris Paul off to OKC. But what shocks me the most out of this trade is how did OKC allow this deal to go without Capella in it or another guy just besides draft picks and Paul? Like, because they're going to trade Paul and they're going to get more draft picks. That's what the Heat's trying to do. Give him like 3 or 4 first round draft. But I'm thinking if I'm OKC, why would you trade your players away just to get draft picks and you don't know what's going to be ahead? I mean, these picks are like in 2026, 2023. Like, really?
But I mean, look at the grave of this whole CP3 thing. I mean, it's amazing that a team would even take on this horrible contract. And if they're going to peddle him, it's going to cost them more than a nickel and a dime to get that done. And
yeah, they're sending them Miami, I heard. That's what the cheat sheet says.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's just a classic example of somebody trying to hold on to something that isn't there. And the other thing that's unspoken in all this, we talk about superstars. And naturally people say, well, Toronto just won and it's because of Kawhi Leonard, right? But it's like, I seem to remember Pascal Siakam having a lot of big games. And I remember Fred VanVleet having a number of very impressive come off the bench games so that Lowry would be able to sit. And it takes more than just these two superstars who are ball-centric to get over the hurdle in the difficult West. I mean, the odds of this working, and you got a coach who's never won a championship. And D'Antoni, to me, is a laissez-faire, live and let live. Let's just let them throw the ball up and not play any defense kind of coach. You're not going to win that way in the playoffs.
Of course.
So, I mean, they can run their team any way they want to. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. That's all. And I recognize.
I think the only reason why the Rockets forced this trade is because they saw what the Clippers and the Lakers did. And they saw Portland got Hassan Whiteside and got their third guy. And Denver got, Tremaine Grant from OKC. And they looked at all these other teams in the West were building, and they're sitting there and idle, and they haven't made one move in the free agency except for re-signing Rivers and the other two guys they signed, which were on our team, Daniel House and whoever else that was a re-sign. We lost to Nene, so now it forced them they had to make some kind of move. I'm just shocked that we were able to get that deal off with OKC, considering that the original offer was Capella, Tucker, and Gordon, and Chris Paul for Westbrook with no picks. That was the original deal that Morey had on the table. And then when I heard the trade went down, I'm like, oh, God, we probably lost Capella and these guys. But then I heard we gave up Chris Paul and draft picks. I'm like, wow, we got a major steal on this. like this is actually a pretty good trade. Like it worked out for us because we didn't have to give up a lot for it, you know?
Yeah. Listen to this. Go ahead.
I mean, Westbrook has not been a good playoff player either, though, and neither has Harden, obviously. So that's a question as well.
They shoot inordinately low percentages and shoot a tremendous volume in the playoffs, and they've never really had a particularly efficient playoff series. I'm just going to ask you, is my audio okay to everybody in the room?
Yeah.
All right, good. The way I have this set up is a little bit different. I've kind of moved into a different room here. I wanted to share with you Oklahoma City's first round picks. Now, this will tell you, you want to talk about rebuild, all right? Oklahoma City now has these first round picks: 2020, which is their own, and that's a 1 through 20. 2020, Denver's pick, 11 through 30. A 2021 of their own, and that's a 5 to 30. The 2021 Miami pick, and which they got through the Houston swap, which is a 5 through 30, a 2022 of their own, 1 through 14, a 2022 from the Clippers, a 2023 of their own in a Clippers swap. They had a 2023 Miami 15 to 30, their own in 2024, another Clippers one in 2024, another Houston one in 2024, another one in 2025 of their own, and another 2026 of their own, a 2026 for the Clippers, a 2026 for Houston. I mean, I don't know. With the way picks are, I mean, the Cavaliers at number 5, which is the best these picks can be, got Darius Garland. And, I have yet to see, unlike what was the great NFL quarterback draft year where Marino and Fouts and all those guys. 83. I don't see, very many. I mean, if you look at the year that D Wade and LeBron came out, all right, and then Carmelo came out, and Carmelo really never amounted to anything near what people thought he would. But you look at the other players who came out of that. Well, that was 2003, right?
Yeah.
Who were the other players?
Darko
Milicic, right?
Bosch.
It wasn't Yao Ming. I think Yao Ming came in 01. So
I mean, Kirk Heinrich was solid. I think he was like top 6, top 7.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a guy who had a nice career, but certainly wasn't anything that was going to win anything for you. I guess my point is that if all your picks are basically 5 through 30, there's going to be a lot more Darius Garland kinds of guys. There's going to be a lot more, Colin Sexton kind of guys. And
middle and lower tier.
That's right. And you look at year after year after year. This year was a big year because of Zion, and we don't know how good Zion's going to be, but the hype on him was tremendous. And we haven't seen that kind of hype in a rookie player for a while. But I will point out that once again, he banged knees with somebody, and it's like I've been screaming. He carries too much upper body weight, and his legs are pelican legs. And I don't like what I see physically from Zion. All right. I think that he could become injury prone in the NBA.
And in the NBA, it takes a long time for your players to develop. You're looking at 4 or 5 years. So even if you acquire these draft picks, you won't know the results of how they're going to transpire unless they're 3, 4, 5 years in the league. So you're looking at a 10-year project with all these picks.
I remember when Greg Oden played for Ohio State, and yeah, he injured his hand and all that. But even when he was playing more games, his minutes were being regulated. He was slow up and down the court. He was huffing and puffing. And, I saw the same thing with Zion. Krzyzewski used Zion in the best way possible, not only for his team, but for Zion's future. But, he came out of the game often for Duke. Duke would just rotate players in and out because they got a deep program there. But COD Almighty, I can't. You got to play minutes. If you're not playing 37 minutes, and you're not a superstar, right?
No, And I also noticed his big blocks and defensive plays were all in zone off the ball where he was just standing around and saving energy.
Yeah, I don't. Meanwhile, you've got Steph Curry, and Steph Curry is saying, well, I'm really looking forward to this rebuild. And it's
I'm looking at the 2003 draft, and there's some legends in there. In the second round, Mo Williams got drafted 47. Kyle Korver got drafted 51. Zaza Pachulia got drafted at 42. James Jones got drafted at 49.
Value picks. These are value picks, but they're not players that, if you never get the LeBron, okay? If you never get the big player, all these other role players will have long careers in the NBA, but like Kyle Korver, they'll play, and James Jones, they'll play in multiple cities.
Yeah.
They'll be wingmen. They'll be
like James Jackson. He played for like 15 teams.
That's right. They'll have long careers, but they're not, you're not talking championship. You're talking about longevity.
Timberwolves.
Yeah.
You'll be the Timberwolves.
Players to have a 7-6 seed appearance,
David West was in that draft. Sasha Pavlovich, Dante Jones. Look at all these celebrities in there. Luke Ridnour.
They're guys who've had long careers, but they're not players. If you're Sam Presti, what you're hoping for is like buying 1,000 scratch-offs. No, I'm serious. That's what it's like. And you're hoping to hit the big one and hopefully something will drop into your lap. But that's a hard way to build a franchise, especially when you went from having 3 big-time players and you lost them all.
But unless if you have a LeBron James, most of the time in the NBA, you build through the free agency. Like you have to acquire those stars, like the Nets, like the Brooklyn Nets did.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you're getting them when they're used up.
No, I can tell you something else though. That's where the wingmen come in handy. You have guys who have long careers. Guys like Kyle Korver become much more effective players when the court is opened up, when there are superstars on the court surrounding him. And you can't afford to leave him wide open because he'll bury you. That is the value of these names you've been reading off. But you got to get the man first. Stephen Curry is saying he's ready for a new challenge. Well, he better be. Durant's gone. Iguodala is gone. DeMarcus Cousins was never really there. It's.
I think what NBA drafts prove is that it's a lot easier to evaluate talent coming into the NBA than it is to evaluate talent coming into the NFL or Major League Baseball. Looking at whether they're going to be making in the NBA or not. You can't always tell looking at an NFL guy or looking at a baseball kid. So. Like
Mr. Moohead, all those picks that he acquired, if that was in the NFL, we'd be saying, great, man, that's cool. You're rebuilding. But in the NBA, it's kind of like, what? Who's in the draft? How do you know this is going to happen? Like, what?
Well, after the 5th pick, it's like you're picking in the 3rd round.
Yeah, 11 men on the field in the NFL is a lot different than 5 men on a court, especially in the NBA where 1 or 2 men handle the ball 80% of the time. The idea of it.
It's like you said, it's 1,000 scratch-off theory. He's just hoping to strike that one to win $1 million,
When they started pimping, ball out there in Los Angeles, and they were saying what a great distributor he was. That's like saying, the girl you're going out with has a great personality. It means she's fucking ugly, say what it is. He's a great distributor because he can't shoot. And in this NBA, you have to be able to put the ball in the basket. And it doesn't matter how good a distributor you are. If they don't have to guard you, that means they're going to put 2 men on somebody who's going to hurt them. And they're going to leave you wide open and leave you to struggle. Curry has stated that he has not spent any time with D'Angelo Russell, but he's looking forward to the versatility that he can bring. Well, versatility, that's Steph Curry's way of saying, D'Angelo, if you think you're going to hoist that many shots in Golden State, you better be showing that versatility that includes defense, that includes rebounding, because you're not going to be shooting the ball at will like you did in Brooklyn.
Well, now wait a minute. The Golden State Warriors were basically built by Mark Jackson.
Yeah.
He's the one that acquired all those other players and got drafted Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and put that team together. They didn't go as deep into the playoffs, but he's the initiator of how that team was constructed. I don't think any of the front office people from Mark Jackson's time are left. Any of the scouts or anything like that. I think they've had a lot of turnover.
Do you know the story about Mark Jackson of really why he lost his job?
Why did he?
Because he is a religious fanatic and a bigot. And this is the honest truth. He had a hugely right-wing, religious, anti-gay thing going on, and he was imposing his religious beliefs on players, and they had to get him the fuck out of there. And he would never have won. He would never have won there. And I'm not saying that Steve Kerr is a bad coach, but this is the addition by subtraction that we saw with Wade Jackson being turfed by the Browns. I think that sometimes you just get better by getting rid of a bad apple, and that was the case. And you wonder why, if he put together this great team, why didn't somebody else pick him up? He's a fucking kook. That's the reason why. And it doesn't come off on the broadcast on television.
Isn't that the same thing that Mike Singletary went through with the Niners? He built the team, and then he was let go. They brought in Harbaugh. They made the Super Bowl, and then Mike Singletary never got picked up after that.
Yeah, I mean, there are some people who just don't bring people together, and Hugh Jackson's one of them. I don't. It's not that
Speaking of Wade, did you see that piece where he wants another he wants a third chance at being a head coach?
No, I'm sure he does.
Oh my God, that was funny.
He had a great quote in there too. He said, "I think during those times it was probably some of the best coaching I did, contrary to what people think."
Well, I hope
we need to ramp up his meds.
Vince McMahon's hiring.
Yeah.
Maybe Dan Gilbert will bring him in to coach the Cavs.
That's his best. That's his best coaching. I hate to see his worst. Yeah.
To me, it's unbelievable that, but he will never. He's totally non-lucid. Okay. I mean, I've never seen somebody who was just so far removed from reality in my life. But again, the team went.
Have you met Bernie Sanders?
7-8-1. That's a +7 when you hired a coach that came out of a mobile home and basically came out of Alabama, never coached before, who drew up plays in the dirt basically, and went with a crazy, overly creative kind of thing, who had no experience on the job. And he was able to +7 Hugh Jackson. What does that tell you? And the same thing's true with Steve Kerr. We're going to find out how good a coach Steve Kerr is. And I think you're going to find out what you found out about Mike Brown, what you found out about,
Tyronn Lue.
Tyronn Lue. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to find out that, these guys are not supermen. There might be one Popovich who can really get the most out of players, and the rest are just kind of guys who are kind of managing the flow. That's just kind of the way it's got.
Isn't that the same thing about how the NBA talks about how it's a players' league? Does that kind of play into it?
No, sure. And I think the coaches, when the players make so much more than the coaches will take on 5-year deals with the worst teams in the world so that they're getting paid while they're looking for their next job. It's the honest to God. And I don't want to speak badly of Dan Gilbert because of the health problems that he's suffering from right now. And it is of grave concern that we're not hearing anything about Dan. And, I think everybody in Cleveland wishes him well. But the fact of the matter is, the way you end up paying 2 coaches or 3 coaches at a time is because you keep hiring them and firing them. and each one has a multi-year deal. And the only way you'll sign a guy is through a multi-year deal so that he will get paid. And if you go to work, you know, honestly, I mean, it's like Beeline wants to become an NBA coach. He's an older fellow. And to be honest, he's ready to retire. And this is like a dream come true. He gets to be an NBA coach at the end of his career. If Dan Gilbert and the organization turns on him like they've turned on the others, he'll just go to pasture. I mean, he doesn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, it's like definitely his last job. He ain't taking anything else.
Mike Holmgren.
Yeah,
Mike Holmgren. You know, it's not a problem, and he's going to be paid for multiple years. So it's like an annuity, a retirement annuity. So it's not.
When you hear these bottom market teams hiring head coaches for like 4 years, and you'll see them at the podium, they look like they're like, fuck. Damn, I'm getting paid. Fuck. Damn, I'm getting paid. Fuck.
So, Moo,
yeah.
Do you think that Phil Jackson could work today? Because he had that whole Zen thing, that whole Buddhist, his team would like meditate together. They'd have like, they'd pray together and stuff. And
they'd kick him in the nutsack. I mean, people ain't going to put up with that shit. And he was arrogant as hell. Let me tell you, the older he got, you know, the higher he sat on that chair because he said he had a bad back, looked more and more like a throne. This guy was a prima donna. And the fact of the matter is he still had an edge over the players. That's all been wiped out since he came and went. No, he would be of no value in the NBA whatsoever right now. None. He would be a failure. And that's the fact is players might buy in at first. Take Kyrie. How did Kyrie go from winning a championship in Cleveland to being so resigned to his unhappiness? How does that happen? How does it happen with players that, you know, 1 minute you got this big troika in Golden State and then Durant wants to go to Brooklyn? How is it that all of these players end up at the end of their contracts looking strictly ahead and not behind as far as what brought them to the point they were? They abandon, they jettison, they go to Los Angeles, go to the movies, do whatever. They do Uncle Drew movies and they become real prima donnas. How do you preach Zen Buddhism to people like that?
Well, you know that Kyrie Irving went on record to say that most NBA players actually found the NBA league to be boring.
To be what?
He said Kyrie Irving went on record to say that a lot of the NBA players find the league boring.
Okay,
like,
yeah, of course they do.
82-game season, your standard playoff, it gets boring. Repetition, doing the same thing over and over.
Oh,
maybe they just got bored.
Well, I mean, part of it is the fact they're traveling a lot, playing 82 games a year, and all of that shit. But more significantly, it's that the second you sign that contract, I remember when Kyrie signed his deal with the Cavs and that extension, he danced on the tabletop, the video.
He did.
And, you know, it was all about him all along. And yet they can buy in for a brief moment in time, but they're like a Ritalin child, man. That's what they're like. You can only get that attention for so long.
You know what I don't get, Mr. Moohead, is how you can sign a 4 or 5 year deal, be in the middle of a contract, request a trade, and get traded in the NBA the next day. Paul George says, I want to be traded. Chris Paul, I want to be traded. It doesn't matter. 4 or 5 year, give them the max. The owner just gives in, GM just gives in, says, okay, we'll trade them, even if that means we'll have a losing season for the next 4 years. I don't see how the players have that much power that they can actually request a trade in the middle of their contract.
Well, they don't. The owners just give in. The owners don't have to trade anybody. They could keep them all.
But that essentially means they have the power, because if they request it and the owner they only request it because they know the owner's going to give in.
Yeah,
right?
The owners have to stop giving in.
No, wait a minute. No, wait a minute. If it were just the players, then the owners would just do what they did for years in baseball, and they would just blacklist the son of a bitch. Okay? It isn't the owners, it's the league. And until people realize that the power is with players, because the league is moved by the popularity of players.
100%.
television ratings, TV contracts, the money that comes in is all predicated on whether you can get, you know, your player to do movies, to become television producers, to, you know, so you have Uncle Drew, you have Wise LeBron. It goes on and on and on. I mean, this is the way it is. And when a player says, yeah, I want to leave, but it's really the league saying it's time to move you and we're reshuffling the deck.
Yeah. The franchises mean nothing. It's the star players that mean everything. That's where all the money is generated. That's where all the international money is generated from. People overseas in China or even England, they don't give a shit about whether somebody's in Boston or Cleveland or Houston. They just want to see LeBron or Kobe, whoever.
When was the last time you heard anything about the genius Pat Riley? I mean, Pat Riley just dried up and went away. I mean, you want to talk about the Zen Meister? I mean, talk about, you know, Mr. Greaser there in Miami. I mean, yeah, when he had all the stars, he won, and ever since, totally forgotten. The fact is that the league will pay teams back for losing players, but they'll never quite get back what they lost. And this is the way the league works. And if it's, you know, whatever keeps the money rolling in. And if you're an owner, if you're Dan Gilbert, and you were graced with not only LeBron, but the first pick to get Kyrie, and you get all of these players, and then the league comes to you and says, okay, you know, we're putting you in the back of the buffet line now. You're going to stop eating. You know, you're going to say, okay, because the fact is you got the title that you were looking for. But it is an odd thing. I mean, baseball is like, let's just let the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Dodgers just pay everybody unbelievable amounts of money, and let's just leave the Pirates and the Marlins just to fucking starve. All right.
And the Padres.
Yeah, that's like the worst of the sports. The best of the sports is the NFL, except that it causes its players to die of premature brain damage. But they have the idea better done, is that teams could really, you can go from 0-16 and 2 years later be predicted to win your division. It can happen in the NFL. Can happen in the other sports. And in the NBA, it's kind of like the mafia. You know, it's like if you go along to get along, you know?
It's like when you hit the reset button in the NBA, you're going to be there for a very long time at the bottom.
A lot of these teams, it's like if you're the owner of the Warriors, what are you going to do? Sob? You're going to cry about it? What are you going to do? I mean, you had your day in the sun. That's that.
The NBA is a battle of super teams, a battle of dynasties, and once that light goes out, it's somebody else's turn to dominate for 5 years. It's a game of hot potato with super teams. That's what it seems like in the NBA.
Yeah, it's interesting for Cleveland Browns fans. Yeah, Duke Johnson hired Drew Rosenhaus. That's all you need. Fucking Drew Rosenhaus, and he still wants the Browns to trade his ass. And which is all well and good, but when you're Duke Johnson, you don't really have the sway that LeBron James did. So you can, you know, or that Kyrie Irving did, you know, you can say you want to be traded, but the fact is the Browns don't want you, Duke, any more than you want them, but they're not just going to give you away for nothing. And teams are now going to wait because you've opened your stupid big mouth up. And if you'd shut your yap and just been professional about this, you'd have a job with another team right now. Instead, everybody's looking for the bargain discount. And you know something, Duke? It's going to affect how much money you make too. Because if they're waiting for it to go from a mid-round draft pick to a 6th or 7th round pick, what do you think they're going to really think of you, and how are they going to pay you wherever you go next?
It's going to be 7th round pick now. For opening his mouth. He could have been a 5th round or 4th round pick.
That's right. And he thinks it hurts the team. It hurts him. What it does is it keeps him in an unhappy situation longer, and it devalues him. So, and the sorry part of it is that Duke Johnson could help a football team but only within a role, and it doesn't appear that he understands what his role would be. And again, this is, I think Duke has to understand that when you've got Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in the backfield, they're better than you are.
And they work harder too, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're better. I mean, it's just like when you were a kid and you were not one of the first 3 or 4 or 5 picked in a pickup basketball game. And the reason is the other guys are better. You know, I feel badly when it's like a cliquish thing and people pick on the basis of social status or whatever. But Duke Johnson can't say he's better and more durable than Nick Chubb, and he can't say that he's ever come close to achieving what Kareem Hunt did. So, you know, I don't get this. I think that it's gone way too far. I think that it's a distraction. He's trying to be a distraction, and he's devalued himself. And if I had the Browns, I would just take a 7th-round pick and get his sorry ass out of Cleveland. Got no time for this nonsense. No fucking time. I don't know. You guys see it any differently?
100%. That's what's going to happen. I mean, I can't really see him starting the season with the team. Yeah, I really can't.
Philip Slauson is in the chat room. Phil, you know, look at the top of the chat and take a look at that link. That link is always the link into this show on Mondays and Fridays. If you want to be part of the Browns halftime, or just the post-game shows, no time at halftime, but if you want to be part of the post-game shows, I'll be putting those up too, and I'll be putting those up on Twitter so that anytime you want to jump in, you can jump in. In other words, the link will never change. That's makes it simple for people to become regulars. Dickie V impression time.
I haven't heard that one for a while. Oh, baby.
Okay, wait. What? Okay, Jake, what do you want? What do you want Dickie V to say, Jake?
No, you don't have to. I was just making the reference when Amsterdam said he's a primetime practice player, baby. So,
I know what you can do. You can talk. Dickie V goes to the All-Star game in Cleveland.
Yeah. It's like, let me tell you something, baby. I know Cleveland is probably the most exciting place in the universe right now. And it's because I'm here. I arrived, and my 82-year-old wrinkled ass, people came up to me and said, Dickie. Wait, I'm stuck. I'm sorry. I get in a rut sometimes, baby. I'm excited because they're going to shoot fireworks off. It's by the lake, and I love the lake. That's the lake that Hugh Jackson never jumped in. Yeah, it goes around.
You forgot to mention his whole, that looked pretty cool, and I can only see out of one eye, but I still call basketball games.
Yeah, Dickie. Dickie lives down here. Dickie lives just...
He's got a walk-in closet bigger than that bedroom, doesn't he?
Yeah, no. My walk-in closet's bigger than your great room, baby. Yeah. I actually was over at Dickie's house, you know?
All right.
Yeah. Oh, God, you should see this place. It's palatial. He's got...
How big is it? It's like...
I got 13 television sets. It's true. He's got 13 TVs in his house.
But all tuned to him at the same time.
Conspicuous consumption. I mean, it's like, fuck. How do you compete with that? Damn.
That hardcore film study he does.
Hardcore films, you said?
Yeah.
Hardcore film study, yeah, definitely.
Let's take a look at the tape.
Hardcore movies. Oh, I'm gonna give it to you, bitch. I'm gonna get. No, I'm sorry. I can't. No, I can't see that. What a horrible thought, you know.
My God, you are a diaper dandy. Damn.
Yeah. Let me whip that ass. Let me whip that ass. I just can't. No. Here's the pizza and here's the pepperoni, baby. Yeah, it's like, thanks.
Hey, he probably knows Jeffrey Epstein, doesn't he?
Jeffrey Epstein. Oh my God. Wow. That's the only thing I can think of is that's why Sesame Street was on his TV all the time. He was just trolling. God, it's just horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, here you go. Demetrius Harris. All right, he's your backup tight end in Cleveland. You might remember Darren Fells, the guy who used to be the Browns' backup tight end who couldn't block. You know, it's interesting. Demetrius Harris is a guy who, and I wanted to point something out, and the first time it happens during the course of the season, I'll be on the halftime or postgame show claiming my brilliance. But
as you do every week.
Yes, I do. Yeah, except when I say that Kawhi Leonard's never going to the Clippers, and I have to. I gotta eat shit, baby.
You're not fucking clairvoyant. Only some of us are Bronxtradamus, so there you go.
Believe me, I got blinders on. Demetrius Harris, this will be his 6th year in the NFL, but the good news is he can block. He had a 72 run block and 73.5 pass block grades from Pro Football Focus, and that's important. He caught 11 of 12 targets for 3 touchdowns. But the thing I think that people don't realize in a backup tight end, I mean, we've got David Njoku, who is a guy who is a kind of an open field, kind of hybrid receiver tight end, but he's not a good blocker. Having a guy like Demetrius Harris and his 73.5 pass block grade from last year, you put him in on the goal line situations or short yardage situations, and 2 things can happen. One, he can just level people, and you'll get that yard that you need. Or he can slide off the line of scrimmage, and he can be able to catch a short pass. The guy is not going to break anything for meaningful yardage. But the other thing is, you have the option with Njoku, and I know that Kitchens is whipping this up. You have a 2 tight end alignment with Njoku playing outside and with Demetrius Harris playing inside. And then you have a goal line situation where you can run the football or you can pass a fade to 2 guys who are tall. Demetrius Harris is 6'7", and he's an immediate mismatch in height. So this gives you a lot of goodness in the red zone. And this is another weapon, believe it or not, even though you don't think of Demetrius Harris as an offensive weapon, it gives the opportunity to mix and match at the goal line and keep teams guessing. Because you've got running backs and guys like Chubb and Kareem Hunt when he's ready to play who will get you the yardage you need at the goal line. I mean, it makes you have to think about too many possibilities. And then you have misdirections on top of that. You have, you've got Dontrell Hilliard, who can just, a misdirection, just kind of float out into the flat, and you can throw a ball to him, which is like a 98% completion rate. And you have blockers ahead. And then you have Demetrius Harris, who then can block at the line of scrimmage to spring him for a yard or 2 to get into the end zone. You have a lot of opportunities. And you saw that the Browns like to go for 4th down and short. This is another reason why they'll continue doing that, because at 6'7" and his strength, he's only caught 57 passes in his 5 years in the league. But the bottom line is he's still a big target. And if you throw the ball up in the air, he's capable of catching it. This guy's going to be an underrated guy for Cleveland, because if Njoku keeps dropping passes like he has, you're going to see more of a traditional tight end, because then the Browns will use Dontrell Hilliard as a pass receiver out of the backfield. The Browns have plenty of receivers in one regard with the quarterback that we have. But, I think having a blocking tight end is a valuable thing, and it keeps teams guessing. So I don't
think we did enough bootlegs in the red zone. I think Mayfield didn't run the ball on the outside all that often. And maybe that's something they can try with proper blocking.
I can tell you one other thing that is really kind of the only thing to be worried about, again, for Browns fans. Your offensive line only grades out to number 3 in the AFC North, only ahead of the Bengals. You've got the 2 on top of you. The Browns Pro Football Focus preseason ranking is 20th, and the reason is because, well, Greg Robinson, nobody knows, Chris Hubbard, Treader had ankle issues. Hopefully he'll be strong. I
don't want to sound boring or repeat myself, but I think Dorsey can find guys off of other people's roster and plug them in like he's been doing the past year and a half on positions like that. So
Austin Corbett, it's gone awful quiet surrounding Austin Corbett, hasn't it?
Well, we're going to find out in a month, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, it is of concern. But we're ranked 20th, all right? The Bengals were ranked 27th. Then you jump up, and the Ravens are ranked 11th. And we know, Marshall Yanda, who is a very fine guard, he's 34 years old, so injury could befall him. Alex Lewis and Matt Skura, they both were very solid. They had a great running game last year. The question is, Greg Roman, the new offensive coordinator there, if he's going to continue relying on options and things of that nature.
They've lost if they do that.
But the thing is, that's what the line did so well last year. It was the option and then play action. And those two things, the line was athletic and was able to get a lot out of that.
Yeah, defenses will put in packages that will stop that. They'll have quicker linebackers and put 8 in the box, and they'll fuck that up. I mean, I don't see them winning playing like that.
But the real problem is the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's always the problem. You've got Alejandro Villanueva, you've got Ramon Foster, you've got Marquise Pouncey, you've got David DeCastro.
Yeah.
These guys, my goodness. These are 3 Pro Bowlers in Villanueva, Pouncey, and DeCastro. I mean, this is a preseason rank of 3rd, and that is what keeps Ben Roethlisberger going.
Well, hopefully we've got a defensive line that's all pro that can match up against them and stop them from driving. We don't know that yet. We're going to find out.
No, but what we do know is that I remember when Brian Sipe got protection. I remember when Bertie Kosar got protection. A good offensive line is worth its weight in gold. And quite honestly, Pittsburgh has gold on their offensive line. And it makes you forget about the fact that they've lost some good running backs, because at the heart of it, Ben Roethlisberger remains healthy. Each year we see him and we say, oh, this is going to be the year he goes down, and it just doesn't happen.
No,
so,
it doesn't happen. But yeah, the thing is, I mean, I repeat myself, but the defense, if they get the other team off the field, and we give the offense the ball a lot, then the other team's defense will start getting tired, and then we'll start driving the ball and whipping people out in the 4th quarter. That's what we got to do.
Well, want to remind everybody, if you're an Indians fan, 7-10 tonight, the Indians and the Twins. This is
where it all starts falling apart. Right.
Well, we got Clevenger going against Kyle Gibson. Kyle Gibson is 8-4 with a 4.09 earned run average, but the Indians have had some success against Gibson in the past. Clevenger coming off of injury. So we will see what happens. The Cleveland Indians, the weather's supposed to be sunny and warm, supposed to be a good weekend for baseball. The ball should be carrying out of Progressive Field. So this will be interesting to see what happens. But if you don't win the opening game here and you start falling further behind, it could go downhill very quickly. But likewise, if you go out there and you win the first 2 games and you cut to 3.5 games deficit, it could put the collar around the Twins too. So
I can't see the Indians winning more than 1 game this weekend.
No,
and Carlos Santana in the home run derby, we all know the people that are in the home run derby do absolute shit after they try to start playing real baseball right afterwards.
Well, the Indians are going left-handed happy with Francisco Lindor, the switch hitter, leading off. Mercado, who is slowing down a little bit offensively. You wonder if the league is figuring out where his flame-out zone is at home plate. Got Santana, then you got Kipnis, and you got Ramirez. You got Bobby Bradley DHing for the left side. You got Bowers from the left side. You got Roberto Perez catching. and then Tyler Naquin for the left side. They're going to throw as many lefties as they can at Kyle Gibson. That's happening at 10 after 7, so you don't want to miss that. I'm done. I mean, I pretty well have said everything I want to say. Anything you guys want to add before we get the hell out of here?
Steven's not here. He didn't leave a question behind, so no, not really.
I'll show the whole gallery now, or what's left of the gallery, as people came.
Like Brian disappeared at his prerequisite time that he usually does.
Yeah, well, he's only got so much gas in the tank of that laptop. So that's it. I thanks everybody for joining us, and again, do me a big favor, subscribe to the channel, would you, and hit the bell icon. It'll make the whole post game and halftime show during the football season so much easier for you to access, for me to be able to get you on the air, and to get fans' opinions on the air. It is really a singular purpose that I have, to share this season with as many people as I can. And I don't care if it's a clusterfuck on the air. I want people to express themselves. And even if it's not a popular opinion, it's all good. You know, it's all good.
So is the meeting number staying the same?
Say what?
The 9 or 10-digit meeting number, is that staying the same?
Yeah, the link will always be the same for this show, the one that, and all you have to do is send me an email after the show, Bronk, and I'll do. But you've got it in the chat room. If you're over in YouTube, all you have to do is copy it. It's the first entry in the chat, and just save that. You'll be able to get in every single time. The same thing will be true when it gets posted for the preseason games, and that same link will work all the way through the NFL season. So I'm going to make this easy. This is basically color by numbers. All right, thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks to the Black Piranha and her pussy. It was nice. God, that's scary. God, you know what that reminds me of? Goldberg's
cat.
Oh, there's another cat.
Yeah, it's mine. He's been right here the whole time.
So
There's
everybody,
galore on the show today.
have a pleasant weekend. Be back again with you on Monday. I'll be watching The Tribe tonight. So at least
So Twins.
If it gets off to a bad start, I'm going to turn it off. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again on Monday. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.